I couldn't help but let out a laugh when the CEO tried to humiliate my husband by throwing his clothes at him. What David did afterward, though, flipped the entire scene on its head. It had all begun on what looked like any other Monday. David had been stuck at Cromwell Industries for years, far longer than I thought he should have endured. The company was a battlefield, and at the top sat Richard Knight, a ruthless CEO who treated his employees like tools to be discarded whenever he pleased. David dragged himself home every night drained, working late hours without a single complaint, too proud to admit how much the grind was crushing him. I always felt Knight had it out for him personally. The sarcastic remarks, the way he cut David off during meetings, the deliberate public humiliations. It was Knight's way of showing everyone who held the power. But that Monday was different. When David left the house, he carried a calmness I hadn't seen in him for years. Gone was the restless edge. Instead, he looked focused, almost resolute. I asked him what was going on. All he said was, "Today's the day." He kissed me on the forehead and walked out. I assumed he meant something good. Maybe news of a promotion, finally. By 4 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a message from him asking me to come to his office. That had never happened before. A knot of nerves tightened in my stomach, but a part of me wanted to believe it was a celebration. The moment I stepped into Cromwell's lobby, though, I knew better. The air was thick, tense. Even the receptionist's startled expression made it clear something was off. She hurried me upstairs to the executive floor. Inside, Richard Knight stood in the middle of the office like a monarch on display, arms folded, arrogance radiating. David was a few feet away, looking strangely calm, almost too calm. Knight didn't acknowledge me. His eyes were locked on David. "Mr. Roberts," he sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "Seems you've forgotten your place. Maybe this will remind you." He snatched up a stack of David's work clothes, shirts, trousers, even the spare shoes he kept for late nights, and with a dramatic flick of his arm, hurled them onto the polished floor. The slap of fabric against the surface cracked through the silence, the tension stretching tighter around us. I couldn't hold it in. The absurdity of it all, the CEO of a massive company acting like a spoiled bully. It slipped out of me, a shaky laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous. Knight smirked, mistaking my laugh for his victory. "Consider this your exit notice," he said with smug satisfaction. But David didn't flinch. He didn't even look at the pile. Calmly he bent down, picked up each item, and folded them with care. I noticed the smallest flicker in Knight's confidence as David finished. Then David walked right up to him, clothes in hand. Without a word, he tossed the neat stack back, landing square against Knight's chest. The room froze. Knight did too. The clothes slid down his expensive suit, and for the first time, he looked unsure, unsettled. David broke the silence, his voice even but strong. "You've spent years tearing people apart, trying to strip away their worth just to feel powerful. But dignity isn't yours to take. It's something no one can steal. You've never given me anything. You trample on others to make yourself feel tall. But real strength isn't found in holding people down. It's knowing who you are, no matter what. And I know who I am." For once, Richard Knight had no response. The man who ruined careers with a single word suddenly looked smaller than I had ever imagined. David turned to me, calm as ever, gave me a faint smile and said, "Let's go." We left the office as if we were slipping out of a dinner party early. In the elevator I whispered, "What just happened?" He smiled again, steady, almost glowing with confidence. "Today was the day I decided I'd had enough. I've had another job offer waiting for months. I knew Knight would pull something like this eventually. Leaving wasn't just quitting. It was taking back my dignity. He tried to break me again, but this time I didn't let him. That's the difference." I sat there stunned, pride welling up inside me. I had laughed when the CEO tried to humiliate my husband with his clothes. But David refused to be broken. He didn't give Knight the satisfaction. He handed it right back. And in that moment, everything changed.